common sense. This is what I'm really thinking when friends, authority figures, dates, etc., tell me to use it. They're not talking about the kind of common sense needed by all humans to function in a day. There is a particular implication, a special clause in the common sense rulebook directed at the female portion of the population. But when a woman is told to use common sense, what is really being suggested? I've always had wanderlust. I think my parents nursed me on it. Every summer we took long road trips, and many of my moments of deepest pleasure have come barreling down the highway, wind blowing, music blasting, roadway signs, and the range of landscapes flashing by. It doesn't matter the vehicle. If I am in motion, I settle into a peace I cannot otherwise know. Not everyone understands this impulse, the desire to go alone, traversing strange and beautiful spaces. In my mid-20s, I took a job in transportation. The company was called Amerifleet. And my role was to drive cars cross-country, delivering from one city to another. I'd pick up a Taurus in Torrance and deliver it to Omaha, for instance. Then I'd ride a Greyhound bus to wherever the next pickup city was located, Missoula, Madison, Montgomery, and drive that company car or medical van to its next destination. This was how I made my living for nearly 2 years. And I would have kept that job much longer, but the wage was too low and the gigs too unreliable to make my bills. To get by on the road, I slept in truck stops. The company didn't pay me nearly enough to cover the cost of hotels. My dad was a trucker when I was a little girl, and so were a few uncles, so I knew these people. Plus, truck stops were open 24 hours a day with a diner, clean toilets, showers, and the ubiquitous hum of diesel engines to help me fall asleep. Flying J was by far my favorite truck stop chain. The cleanest showers, the most space. Pilot was a close second. Love's, however, ironically left a lot to be desired, with its cramped aisles and depressing fast food collaborations. I must admit, I felt pretty tough, roughing it with the other truckers, wondering if I was passing, if they mistook me for one of their own. I'd wait in the driver's lounge for my turn to take a shower, walk confidently with a towel under my arm, fill up my coffee mug on the way out, and push through those Flying J double doors like any other highway professional. I drove the vehicles assigned to me as far and fast as I could. Profit was measured by a driver's ability to stay awake. And if my German-American upbringing had taught me anything, it was that efficiency is king. Sleep was a sign of weakness, a kind of failure. I still have trouble believing it's important. But once my eyes would start drooping and I knew I couldn't safely go any further, I'd pull into a truck stop lot. I'd park in a spot between two semis, zip myself into the sleeping bag I'd haul with me, and do my best to sleep a few hours in the driver's seat, ever at the ready to reignite the engine and cover a few more miles. My boss quickly learned I had a freakish ability to drive long distances without stopping to sleep. So he'd send me on some of the toughest runs. I could push myself 17, 18, 19 hours all in one shot. I took pride in this. And it didn't get old for me. I'd write silly blues songs in my head, inspired by my obsession with John Lee Hooker and Nina Simone. I want more and then some. I chuckled at the billboards from God in the South and marveled at the spare beauty of New Mexican mesas. I had my system down. I packed my rucksack with a few essentials, sleeping bag, and a small cooler for food. It just took one long distance run to learn I'd need to find an alternate to truck stop provisions. Fried chicken, gravy, French fries, all housed in a dim yellow-green under heat lamps, wasn't really going to work for a vegetarian like me. So I found a book called Tofu Toll Booth that listed by state the health food stores across the country, where I'd stock up on enough veggie booty and hummus to get me through another day's journey. And yes, of course, there were cigarettes to keep me company. I mostly spent my time driving alone, but one run proved a bit too much for me. My boss thought I might be able to get a medical van from California to Illinois in under 2 days, but by the time I crossed into Kansas, it was clear I wouldn't make it. They had to call in support. Not only had I let down my boss, it was as though I had let down the truck driver blood running through my veins. A Chicago native twice my age, Ronnie, flew into the Wichita airport so we could tag team drive and deliver the van on deadline. By the time I got to the airport to pick him up, I could hardly see straight. He immediately got behind the wheel and tried to soothe me. Honey, you get some sleep. Don't you worry about me. So I swallowed my shame at not making it all the way to Chicago on my own, crawled into the back with the medical equipment, and passed out instantly. When I woke up hours later, Ronnie was still driving, listening on repeat to the Lucinda Williams Essence album I shared with him. Didn't you want to change the CD? I asked. He, in his ever-calming tone, replied, Honey, I didn't want to wake you. You were so tired. When we arrived at the drop-off spot, we still had a ways to go to get to the Chicago Amerifleet main office. Usually we had to walk ourselves, lugging all our gear for miles to the nearest bus station after a drop-off. But these clients in Illinois were surprisingly kind and offered to drive us the 3-hour trek. Ronnie and I savored this luxury as we slept in the back of the van together, spooning like old lovers. We said our goodbyes at the Chicago office where we both waited and hoped for another gig. Sometimes truckers did seem a little puzzled by me, a young single woman, and they would occasionally say hello or ask questions. One trucker approached me in a Flying J lounge and asked if I drove trucks too. Wishing I were that badass, I muttered, no, just cars. He still seemed impressed, told me, you're looking good. That was before I knew about lot lizards. At the truck stop counters, drivers can choose from an array of super energy pills, Yellow Jackets, Mr. Energy, all sorts of trucker speed, and bumper stickers. One particular bumper sticker truckers used on their semis to announce no lot lizards. In other words, no truck stop prostitutes welcome. These women would walk from truck to truck, slipping in and out of the cabs. I wondered about their lives, how they got here, and all the ways women survive or don't. I encountered a lot of desperation on the road, waiting to get the next job. The guy who lost everything because he got hooked on drugs and booze but was trying to turn his life around. People barely holding on, wanting a little sweetness. Weren't you scared? Everybody asks me. A woman out there alone, they add. Not one man threatened me. Not one man attacked me. On December 16, 2012, in South Delhi, a 23-year-old woman was gang raped on a bus and died 13 days later from the fatal harm done to her body there. And on February 11, 2015, Özgegan Aslan, age 19, was stabbed and beaten to death while resisting rape on a bus in Mersin, Turkey. And just last June in Boston, Massachusetts, my friend was raped on her way to the subway. They were all taking public transportation. For me, common sense is taking public transportation. It is boarding a bus, trusting that it will take us home, to work, wherever we choose. Common sense is driving as far as we want to, and then resting, and then waking up and driving some more. As a woman, everybody told me I was crazy to do that job, but my common sense told me it wasn't crazy at all.